Pipeline inventory.
Nope, this doesn't only affect plumbers and oil distribution companies, although the latter is where the term probably came from. Pipeline inventory is a categorization of inventory, if you're categorizing by function, and it refers to the inventory in transit. Hi there, welcome back. I'm Laurence Gartside. I'm a management trainer and consultant in business operations through my business Roten's Training, helping you and your team level up your business operations fundamentals. Whether your business works as part of a giant global supply chain, or it's just an issue of transporting goods over to the other building across the road, when that inventory is in the process of being moved, we can call it pipeline inventory. This could be a furniture company transporting beds from its warehouse to the various retail stores, pharmaceutical drugs being delivered by truck across a few countries, container ships going around the world, or, where the name comes from, oil in a pipeline being pumped across continents. Maybe this journey only takes half an hour or over a month going around the world by sea. So why does it matter, and how much pipeline inventory might we be talking about? Let's use iron ore as an example. Some of the big bulk carrier ships can carry 300,000 tons of ore. Taking the example a bit further, the United Kingdom imports the equivalent of 36 of these giant ships' worth per year. That's 3 ships per month. Much of it from Australia. Each ship's cargo is worth maybe $60 million, although commodity prices are always changing. One of those ships can be at sea for up to 30 plus days, call it a month. If all the UK's iron ore was all coming from Australia, it would mean about 3 ships will be at sea at any moment in time from Australia to the UK. Remember, in this example, we said demand was 3 ships per month and the journey took 1 month. 3 ships worth of inventory means the UK would have $180 million of iron ore of pipeline inventory at sea at any moment in time. Now, whose pipeline inventory this is depends on who actually owns it for this time in transit. Maybe, in this case, the importing steel companies will have bought it and be paying to have it shipped on their own contracted boats. But in many other industries, it will be the exporter who will own it and only sell the inventory, the goods, once they have cleared customs in the destination country. Even if the stuff has been bought by an importer before it is exported, it could still be the financial responsibility of the exporter during transit. It all depends on the agreed Incoterms, which are a standard system of possible arrangements in cargo transportation to define the responsibilities of sellers and buyers during the various stages of transit. Imagine another example with an actual oil pipeline. Here, the flow of inventory is continuous rather than in discrete ships. If we have a pipeline that is, say, 1,000 kilometers long and 1 meter in diameter, we can calculate how much oil it contains. 1 meter diameter pi r squared, that's a cross-sectional area of 0.79 meters squared times by the 1,000 kilometers length. And we've got an example pipeline that, at any moment in time, contains 790,000 meters cubed of oil, which happens to be the equivalent of about 5 million barrels. Now, if we try to work out what's that worth, we could use a crude round number of $100 per barrel, and that's $500 million of pipeline inventory at any one moment in time inside our pipeline. Imagine that, $500 million of inventory permanently tied up on your balance sheet. Yes, the oil itself is always flowing, but that quantity of inventory is always there. That's $500 million you can't have in the bank earning interest, or $500 million you can't have invested in the stock market or invested in newer oil refining facilities. That money is tied up and has a big opportunity cost and financing cost. Companies might try to value this cost using their cost of capital. Maybe that's 10%. So having $500 million tied up is said to cost them $50 million per year in financing the pipeline inventory. Let's imagine a bit further. I know your business probably has nothing to do with oil, but the oil pipeline example demonstrates some really good points that are insightful and valid to all industries and their pipeline inventory management. Be that iron ore on a ship or mobile phones being flown air freight from Korea to the USA or fresh fish being driven from the port to the city restaurants. Let's say this big oil pipeline of ours delivers about a certain quantity of oil per hour whilst moving through the pipe at a certain speed. The numbers are not so important. I know you're not transporting oil, but you do have a quantity and value of stuff flowing through your supply chain or business at a certain speed. From our pipeline, or our supply chain, what we care about is this flow rate and the quantity of oil per hour or per day. That's what our supply chain needs to operate. So what happens if I'm not so happy with this $500 million of pipeline oil inventory that's permanently tied up? Whatever you are transporting in your supply chain on a continuous basis, you also have a quantity and value of pipeline inventory permanently tied up on the balance sheet. So what can we do about it? Well, what if we shortened our supply chain and bought from a more local supplier? I know the practicality of the pipeline analogy starts to break down. You can't just move pipelines, but keep with it. Let's say we halve the length of our pipeline or supply route by finding a more local supplier. Keeping the pipe size and the flow rate, we can still supply our needs, but now the length of our supply chain or our pipe has halved. Our pipeline inventory has halved. What was a permanent $500 million of oil in the pipe, costing us $50 million in financing per year, has now halved. $25 million of saving per year. Yes, please. So, if you can reduce the length of your supply chain, you can also reduce your pipeline inventory. Now, maybe us folks in operations and purchasing don't see this as such a big deal, but you should, because run the idea by your finance department and they will be very, very interested. Add a bit of financial nous to your practical operations understanding and you're on the way up. Anyway, reducing pipeline inventory. Alternatively, we can speed up the flow of the oil in our pipeline. If we pump the oil as twice as fast through the pipe, well, we'd get twice as much oil per hour, which we don't want. So we need to also halve the cross-sectional area of our pipe with the double speed to keep the same flow rate. Now I know, not practical with a pipeline you've already built, but very, very, very crucial when you are deciding what size pipeline to build, or supply chain route to set up. If we have a smaller diameter pipe pumping at twice the speed, we have again halved the quantity of oil in the pipeline. We've halved the pipeline inventory. What again was a permanent $500 million of oil in the pipeline costing us $50 million a year is another way that we could cut it in half. Half the length of the pipe and double the flow speed, and you could quarter the pipeline inventory. Now, pumping oil at twice the speed through the pipe will cost more. But how does that compare to the value benefit of reducing your pipeline inventory at your own business's cost of capital percentage rate? This is the same question used as part of every shipping decision for any type of good, when there are different speed options. Should we pay extra for the express courier service? Should we ship our goods from China to the UK in 25 days by sea or in 1 day by air for 5 or 10 times the price? There are many factors, but reducing the quantity of pipeline inventory and its associated financing and opportunity costs is a big part of that decision. So pipeline inventory is inventory in transit. It doesn't have to be in a pipeline, just in transit by air, sea, land, train, truck, ship, plane, pipe, or submarine. The value of that inventory can be really big, and it has an opportunity financing cost which can be big. 2 ideas to reduce it were shorten the journey or make it move through the system faster. If you want to learn more about inventory, supply chain, logistics, international freight and shipping, then come and check out my library of online training courses over on my site, rotenstraining.com. Alright, good stuff. Crack on!